I'm NewsNation senior national correspondent Brian Entin, and every week I'll take you behind the scenes of my life on the road, working on the stories that you care about the most. Here's where I'll share all the great interviews that don't make the final cut and tell you the stories behind what you're seeing on NewsNation every day. It's all part of the puzzle I'm putting together to keep you informed. This is Entin Across America. Hey everybody, hope you're having a good week. I've got just a heartbreaking story to talk about today. It hasn't gotten a lot of national media coverage. I didn't even know about it, but basically the mother of Jason Paholik, who is a young man who was killed in Indiana, reached out to our newsroom and said that she wanted to get in touch with me to share what happened with her son. So I called her, and it was really like a story unlike anything I've ever covered. And the reason she wanted to talk to me really caught me by surprise. But here's a little bit of the backstory. Jason Paholik and his lifelong best friend, Denver Johnson, they'd been best friends, really more like brothers, according to the family, teenagers. Back on May 27th, they were at a bonfire in Crown Point, Indiana. Bunch of young people hanging out, messing around outside. Denver jokingly pointed a gun, according to reports, at 16-year-old Jason and shot him in the chest, and Jason died. The incident was actually captured on like a Ring camera, and both mothers of Jason and Denver have seen the video. Denver said the shooting was an accident, that he believed the firearm wasn't loaded, that they were just messing around. And Jason, the victim's mother, is very close with Denver too, because they, the two teens were best friends, believes that story, believes that it was an accident, doesn't think that Denver shouldn't face consequences for what happened, but doesn't think it was murder, believes it was an accident. And she has seen the video. And at first, Denver was charged with reckless homicide, but the mothers say that later the charge was upgraded to murder, and Jason's mom says that was without any sort of explanation from prosecutors. And Jason, the victim's mom, is very upset that the charge was upgraded to murder and says that it wasn't murder in her eyes, and that her son wouldn't have wanted Denver to be charged with murder. And she also doesn't believe that Denver should go to jail for the rest of his life. I mean, again, she thinks there should be some consequences, but she lost her son. She says she doesn't want to lose her son's best friend. So the whole situation I found really interesting, heartbreaking, but also just interesting because these two moms have now teamed up together, which I've never really seen a situation like that, where the victim's mom and the suspect's mom have now teamed up to try and get this murder charge downgraded. So I interviewed the moms together, and there's an interesting side to this story that I'm going to tell you after I play this interview for you. And these moms now can't really talk because of this gag order, or at least they don't believe they can necessarily talk. There's a gag order that went into effect after I did this interview, but I've got the interview, so I'm going to play it for you with these two moms, and it sort of sheds a little light on the situation. Take a listen. Both of those mothers, Jason's mom, Jennifer Paholik, and Denver's mom, Amanda Eby, join me now exclusively in their first TV interview together. Jennifer and Amanda, thank you so much for being with me. Jennifer, first of all, I'm so sorry about the loss of your son. I can't imagine what you're going through, but I'm not sure I've ever really seen anything like this. I mean, Jennifer, you're sitting next to the mother of the boy who killed your son, but you wanted to do this interview and you wanted to do it together. Jennifer, tell me why that was important to you.
Because I know that Denver didn't do this on purpose, and he shouldn't be charged with murder. Him and Jason were best friends, and it's not fair. It just does not sit well with me at all. It just makes this, it's already tragic, it's already horrible. I just feel like this is just making it so much worse. And there's so many people that are hurting because of this.
Yeah, I mean, you're Jason's mom, and you did not want him charged with murder based on what you know about the case. Do we know why they upgraded the charges, Jennifer, to murder?
They told me that if I watched a video that I would understand, and I still don't understand because I've watched the video and I know them, and I am not, nobody has convinced me that Denver killed my son, that he purposely murdered him. There's no way. It was, he was, I mean, these guys are immature. He should have never had a gun in the first place. And they thought it was a toy, and he didn't even know it was loaded. And they're playing around like it's a toy.
Let me ask you, Amanda, how did the kids get the gun? Jennifer says they never should have had it in the first place. How did they have the gun?
So the gun was actually gifted to my son, Denver, right on his 18th birthday from his boss. He was gifted it, and apparently that is now something that's legal here in Indiana, as you can gift anybody can gift an 18-year-old a gun.
And you've seen the video. I think it was a Ring camera in Jennifer's backyard that showed the incident. We don't have access to the video. Obviously, police have the video. But Amanda, what does the video show?
I do have all 6 hours of the video, and I've watched it extensively several times to see exactly what occurred and what had happened and how we could get to this point. In the video, it does show, the boys hanging out, their group of friends all having fun, partying around a bonfire, being reckless teenagers, as all boys or teenagers can be. There's a fair, extensive amount of alcohol consumed and marijuana, kids just being kids. And they were shooting the gun at the back of the property line. All of the children were, and again, using it as a toy, dancing with it, taking pictures with it, waving it around in the air. And you do see in the video, the part that they don't want to show you is that Denver does make the gun safe several times that evening. But the very last time that Denver was given the gun back after it had been shot, he accidentally made the gun safe in the incorrect order. So with that particular gun, you have to remove the clip and then clear the chamber, and he mistakenly cleared the chamber and then removed the clip. So he thought the gun was safe, and they continued to play around with it and wave it, and Jason was even dancing in front of it at one point, and they were pretending like he was getting shot. And then just that last time, there was when he actually pulled it that time, there was actually something in there.
I got to ask you, Jennifer, as you sit next to Amanda, I mean, you're so calm. There's got to be anger there, though, because even if this was an accident, your son is still gone, and I would think you'd still want someone to pay the price in some way.
I'm very angry, but I don't blame. I do believe that Denver has responsibility in this. That is for sure, but not to be charged with murder. He did not murder my son. He didn't even voluntarily manslaughter my son. And those are the only two options that are on the table. I'm angry with the person that gave Denver the gun, because I know Denver, and this guy knew Denver, and I know there's no way that Denver should have ever had a gun. He was never educated at all. He didn't grow up around guns. He literally had no business with a gun. If I had known that he had a gun, I would have taken it away.
Yes, Denver was oh, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. What were you saying, Jennifer?
No, please go ahead, Brian.
No, I was just going to say, Denver was out on bond, but when the charge was upgraded to murder, he's now behind bars, and it's my understanding that he's actually reached out to you on the phone directly, Jennifer. What has he said?
Of course, he has told me how sorry he is, how much he loves me, how much he misses us. He wishes that he could go back. He wants to be able to advocate and speak to others and other children about guns and what they can do and how serious it is. So this doesn't happen to somebody else.
What would be fair, Jennifer? I mean, you obviously are against the murder charge. He faces 60 years, but what would be a fair sentence for you? Or, how would you like to see this resolved?
I would like to see the charges be back to the original charges of reckless homicide. And because he is going to have to serve time, because he did do this and he does have to pay consequences for his actions.
Yeah.
Well,
we reached out to prosecutors.
The state of Indiana wants him to pay.
Sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting you. There's a little delay. We reached out to prosecutors to find out what was going on behind the scenes, like why they upgraded the charges. They didn't return our call. Hopefully, we'll get more information on that soon. But Jennifer and Amanda, thank you both for coming on. I know this is a really difficult situation for both of you in different ways, but it's a really powerful story, and I really appreciate you both coming on tonight.
And thank you for having us and letting us be heard.
We'll stay on top of it, Jennifer, and see how this all develops from here. So you can see, really, really heartbreaking. I really feel for Jason's mom and Denver's mom too. It's a sad situation. It was interesting interviewing them together. But what really surprised me is after we did this interview, the prosecution filed a motion in the case requesting a gag order and actually citing our interview in the court documents and saying that the parties involved should not be allowed to talk about the case, worried about tainting the jury, which I thought was kind of interesting because this case really hasn't received, I don't think, any national attention besides our interview. Not a ton of local news attention. So it's just, I don't know. It sort of surprised me that they were concerned about tainting the jury just based on a couple of stories. But there's now a gag order, led to a lot of confusion with the moms. They don't know if they're allowed to talk anymore. Seems like Jason's mom probably still could talk about some things, but they feel silenced from what I'm told. This gag order that's now gone into effect after we did that interview, which it is kind of interesting, like why these moms wouldn't be allowed to speak publicly. I talked to Dr. Nikki Jackson. She is a coordinator of the criminal justice program at Purdue University. She's also the executive director of the Center for Justice and Post-Exoneration Assistance. She's now involved because she's talked to the moms and is trying to sort of help them out with this strange gag order situation. I was curious, she's an expert in all of this stuff. I was curious what she thought about this gag order, whether it's fair. Listen to what she had to say. So, Dr. Jackson, it's interesting reading through this gag order. I'm not really sure I've ever seen anything quite like it. What do you make of it? I mean, do you think it's fair? Do you think it's unfair?
Well, I think the problem with this gag order is that it's not very clear, at least to the mothers. They're not sure what is expected of them, if they are actually considered one of the parties that's been reported in the order. So I think there needs to be some clarification. There needs to be some transparency of who these parties are.
In terms of Jason's mom, though, especially, I mean, she's really a victim in all this. I mean, her son is dead. I mean, don't victims have the right to talk to the media, to talk to people?
Well, I don't know if they have a right, but I do know that there are other cases where judges have, issued a gag on victims' family members. That said, this particular gag order does not appear to actually gag her. But she was told by somebody that she can't speak publicly about her feelings or she'd be sitting in jail with next to Denver. I mean, this is creating a lot of fear, a lot of stress, tension, trauma to a mother who's already been traumatized. And this is why I think when this order was issued, there should have been, at least in my opinion, a meeting with the mothers and explain to them very clearly what this order means. And I don't think that has happened after talking to both of them.
So you
And that
spoke
could have
with,
resolved, that could have actually resolved some of the stress that they've been enduring, both mothers.
so yeah, I mean, if you can elaborate a little bit on what you were saying. So you talked to Jen. I mean, did someone try to put fear in her about talking about this, or?
Well, what she's advised me is that someone did phone her and tell her that she can't speak publicly. And if she does, she is going to be going to jail for 90 days and she will be sitting next to Denver. And this individual told her that he hoped that this wouldn't happen. He had said to her specifically, I hope, you follow the rules, and I hope you don't end up in jail for 90 days or you'll be sitting next to to Denver. To me, that would seem like a threat. And I'm sure to a mother who is grieving, or to any mother, this would seem like a threat. She has definitely shared with me that she felt as if she was being threatened with going to jail if she spoke publicly, but this order doesn't ban her from speaking.
I mean, as someone who works with victims and as a victim advocate, I mean, how do you feel about that? And have you ever heard of anything quite like this? I mean, I always feel like they treat these parents, in a very nice way. This doesn't sound like that.
So I'm not sure, how they're actually treating her. I can only tell you what she shared her perception is. And I feel, as many victims, once they're part of the criminal justice system, their voices are lost, just like the defendant's voice is actually lost. So both parties are lost and they're both being represented by either a prosecutor, a defense attorney, somebody is representing them. And so their voices get they are actually lost within the system. So I think that's a problem. I think she's feeling fear, understandably. I think she is feeling a lot of strain. She's not sleeping well. And she's already suffered quite a bit. And the same goes with Denver's mother. I don't think she even really understands what is expected of her. And both of these women should be, told very clearly what this order means, why it's even there. I mean, why is this order there? This isn't like some big, huge, high profile case, national case. I know you all covered it, but it hasn't received a ton of media attention like the Delphi murders,
Right.
which is not so far from us. So I'm not really sure I understand, but it seems like after they came on NewsNation and they spoke to other Chicago media outlets, that folks were afraid, it sounds like, that information was going to be spilled. I'm not really sure what information they even have that can be spilled.
I was thinking the same thing as you. I mean, we did the story on NewsNation. I know it was picked up by a couple of local stations, but I mean, compared to some of these other cases we covered that don't have gag orders, like this really hasn't gotten that much attention. I'm sure there's got to be a lot of potential jurors that haven't even heard anything about it for the most part.
Yeah, and even if they have heard about it, I mean, let's be honest, you go to the Idaho case, the Delphi case, a lot of people have heard about it. We're informed by the media, right? So we already have some knowledge about, who these defendants are, correct? So it's not, we've got people out there who know about these cases, but that doesn't mean you can't find people who can sit on a jury. The prosecutor and the defense attorney will, they'll conduct a voir dire. They're going to interview potential jurors. They're going to talk to them, and they're going to be able to hopefully figure out who can sit as a juror and be impartial. And every defendant has the right under the Sixth Amendment. to an impartial, jury. They have a right to fair trial. I guess I should say it. They have a right to fair trial. So at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know if there's ever, especially in today's, information highway, if there's ever going to be, uninformed public. I mean, I agree that we don't want to use the media to try a case. I absolutely believe that. But I also believe that the media, they show defendants in, in their prison clothing or their jail clothing. They show that their mugshot. We already now, as the public, have some impression that this person must have done something wrong, or they're in handcuffs. So
Right.
there's already this image. So to tell a mother that she can't speak on behalf of her son, whether he's the victim or the defendant, I just feel like that's really, it's slanted, favoring the state over the victim.
This is my last question. I mean, you've talked to the moms, how do you see this playing out? Is there a way to fight this? Are they just going to stay quiet now?
Well, I think they have to stay quiet, but I think that, both of them should, they should retain attorneys who will help them better understand what they're, what's expected of them. And I think they should go to the court and ask for clarification so they best understand. I don't understand how any mother who's lost her son cannot say, I'm hurting, I'm grieving, to the media, to the public. I think she has a right to say what she has said. I don't believe this is murder. That's her opinion. That is her opinion. And she is the mother of the victim. She has, in my opinion, she has the right to say, this is how I feel, right? We all have that right. I mean, we have First Amendment rights. So there has to be, I guess, a balance between the First Amendment and the Sixth Amendment. And I mean, there are studies out there that show that these gag orders aren't even effective. They're really not that effective. So why do this? Why, put these mothers through this? I don't understand it. And I'm trying to wrap my head around it. And if you're going to issue a gag order, then I think you need to explain to the mothers why. And I would really like to see that judges have to adhere to strict standards before they issue a gag order. Why is it that in some cases there's a gag order, but not in others? I mean, we have a local case right now where there's a teacher who's accused of having sex with a student for years. And it's all over Facebook that I believe one of the school officials had released part of the phone conversation, the recorded phone conversation between the student and this teacher. And to me, that is biased. I'm not saying the teacher didn't do it, probably did do it. However, there's always a presumption of innocence. And now you've got small town USA, everybody on Facebook reading this recording, and they've determined, on Facebook that this guy is guilty. Again, probably is, but he still has a presumption of innocence. And so that to me is quite different than a mother saying, this was an accident. I've seen the video. This is an accident. And in fact, Jen, I don't believe Jen went into any details on your show or any show. From my understanding, she just said she doesn't believe this was murder.
Okay, so we'll see how this pans out. Obviously, we'll be following the case closely with the now murder charge, but also the gag order. And again, just a tragic situation all around. Two young guys who are best friends, one now gone. The other one's life obviously changed forever. The possibility that he could go away for murder. It's just sad no matter which way you look at it. So we'll keep an eye on it, and I'll keep you posted on NewsNation and on Twitter if anything pops up. I'm also working on a big UFO special. You guys know I've been into the UFO topic lately. That's going to be next 2 Sundays at 9 o'clock Eastern. We went out and spent time with George Knapp, who is really like the godfather of UFO reporting. He lives out in Vegas. He broke a lot of the stories initially and has continued to break stories for the last 4 decades. He's a hard guy to he doesn't like to do interviews really. And it really took a long time for me to convince him to come sit down with us and give us access to his archives. But we went out to Vegas and did that. And I'm super excited for the 2-part special. So check it out. The first one will be Saturday night at 9. And I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for spending some time with me. To see what I'm up to next, make sure to tune into NewsNation. And if you don't know where to watch us, just go to www.joinnn.com. You drop in your zip code right there in the channel finder, and it'll show you the broadcast channel we're on in your area. And don't forget, we're on all the streamers too: Hulu, Roku, YouTube TV, and we're also on Amazon Alexa and Apple CarPlay. If you have a story you think that I need to know about, then just hit me up on Twitter. I check all my DMs. You can find me there. And I'll catch you next time on NewsNation's Entin Across America.